There we are. We are live. Hello, Chris James.
Mr. Locke, how are you doing?
I'm all right. It's Friday afternoon, which is like in scheduling terms, like a ridiculous time to do one of these lives. But I know there's quite a few people that have been interested in this, and I think that's because of me. No, it's because of you.
Who knows, mate? I mean, you're quite the personality these days online, so.
I'm not sure about that. I actually had somebody shout out to Nick, if you're watching, Nick, who my kind of like way of announcing things is clearly confusing because I did something at 12 o'clock that had a similar name to this, and he thought he'd missed it, and he was disappointed. So, hi Nick, I hope you got here in the end. He didn't want to come to my thing; he just wanted to listen to you. So,
Okay, yeah, wise man.
there we go. Anyway, so here we are today to talk about self-belief and self-transformation. And I know very well why you were the person that I wanted to talk to about this. If there's anybody out there that doesn't already know who you are, though, Chris, who is Chris James?
I don't think Chris James knows the answer to that. I'm a guy that tries to help other people do what I've done, which is self-transformation, I guess. And it was one of your words, or well, one of your many comments, I should say, not a singular word, a while ago that has planted a bit of a seed in me, which is what you do is, on the surface, a sales or mainly a marketing program that people come and learn building business through. But actually, it's much more than that. It's basically a self-development thing. And I was like, oh, no shit, it actually is when I thought about it and seeing some of the transformations that, it's produced, not just clients, myself and team as well. And yeah, I guess that's what I do. So I guess that's why I'm the chosen one on this Friday afternoon.
The chosen one. Yeah. Well, you've very humble in what you say there, but we'll get into that a little bit more. But something that you hinted at that I think is really interesting is you said that you're helping people to do what you've done. So what's your journey? Where have you come from?
Sales. Accidental sales job to refined sales job to a sales and marketing job to my own sales and marketing job. I guess it's still a job at the moment because I'm definitely working full time, but I wouldn't have it any other way for now. So yeah, cut my teeth in call centers where gap times between calls were measured and dials had to be 200 plus a day. You weren't allowed open brews on your desks, but the managers were. All this crazy stuff. To finally graduate into some better sales roles, and certainly some better sales roles where they treated you like someone who was over the age of 12. And after that, I managed to spend about 2 years convincing my friend to help me let me work at his marketing agency. So I finally got the job there, and I started then selling content. And that's when I knew how to sell ish, pretty good, but I didn't understand. I didn't know what role or how big of a role marketing plays in sales. So once I started to understand that and the journey that led up to the point of sale or the point of conversion, and started selling content to some massive household brands that I'm sure everyone will know, that led me to understanding a lot more of the journey. And also I was involved a lot more in the mechanics and the running of the team, and understood some of the mechanics of the business as well. So then accidentally, again, another accident. There's a path a path here, probably all the way back to birth or even before that, but lots of accidents along the way. And yeah, I started posting some content online, and a couple of people got in touch saying your content's really good, could you help me? I'm like, yeah. And I was still employed at this point. Then I helped them, then I put my prices up, then someone paid me $2,500 in full on a call after I got cocky and I wasn't expecting them to. And then I systemized it and turned it into a program which is now, I believe the best organic marketing program on the planet, with tons and tons of case studies and a really systemized and scalable delivery process that allows me, the team, and the clients to have a lot of fun, and if we all do it right, make a lot of money as well.
So, that's amazing. And give me a number, because how much has C2C How much revenue is it generated, roughly?
Can I say it in dollars? Because it'll be bigger then.
Say it in dollars.
No, I won't. Can't do that just yet. Not ready to sell out. We've hit over $1 million in just over 2 years of me quitting my job, which is very much a team effort. I can't walk around like I'm a millionaire. I'll take $5,000 out of the business each month, and then just spend an obscene amount on self-development and personal transformation. Funnily enough, but yeah, we've done 7 figures in a short space of time.
That is unbelievable. And I'm just thinking back to the version of you that was in that call center having his pee breaks measured. Like, how much would he have imagined the life that you've got now and the business that you've got now?
It's still incomprehensible, if that's even a word. Now, like when I pause for a sec, because my mind is so busy and I'm always working on something. It's very little time actually that I do spend sitting and reflecting on stuff. So yeah, it wouldn't have, like, I just did what all I knew, which was work a job that I hated, the same as all of my friends did, and get drunk at the weekends, sleep it off, come back to work on Monday, hating life again, and praying for Friday afternoon to come around so I could go and have some fun. And I didn't know this other world existed where, when I left that job, I felt like Morgan Freeman when he got out of Shawshank, having to ask to go to the toilet. It was it was just weird. And luckily I met one of my very good friends, Adam, who was the person that got me into the agency job. And yeah, we gelled like 2 very cheeky chappies, hated by all the senior people in the call center, and we got on like a house on fire. And yeah, we both had that entrepreneurial flair, I think, and we tried a few different bits here and there. He had his own appointment setting company, like telesales and stuff like that. I was about to start doing that. We were going to set up a recording, like a video studio. We were going to set up a video agency, and we dabbled in all of them, but didn't quite come off. And yeah, that's when it was like, yeah, there is something else actually out there. But no, like, call center Chris wasn't expecting any of it, didn't even know it was possible.
Amazing. So something that I find really curious about this, and maybe you don't know the answer, but where does that come from? If you think of like, because what I'm hearing you say there is that your horizons were kind of week to week, and they were kind of paycheck to paycheck, Friday night out to Friday night out, and that's like totally normal, and there's nothing wrong with that way of living. I think I prefer the one that you've got now, I'm sure, but I know plenty of people that they love that. They love the rhythm of it, they love the familiarity of it. And I can remember, I grew up in a small town, and I can still remember like what it felt like to be able to go into the White Bear on a Friday night and know that there was going to be 8, 9, 10 people that I knew, and then we just settle into it, and there we go. So there's, that life has its merits, but in order to achieve what you've achieved and what your potential is, you have to flip your mindset. Something has to say to you, no. Do you know where that came from?
I think it would probably been on the cards of just like kicking the shit out of it for a bit too long on the drink. Not like that I had a massive problem, but I think, underneath it all, I definitely do have a problem of some sort with drink. Definitely. But I really enjoy it at the same time. So it wasn't like I would drink every night or anything like that, but I would definitely overindulge a lot, at least once a week, probably on a Friday night. And I think having children and, buying a house and all these like grown up things that still feel a bit weird. I'm not even sure I really know what the word mortgage means still, but that kind of thing all just matured me a little bit. And then COVID hit, and that was just a standstill moment. And I need to find the picture, but the first few weeks of COVID, I was getting drunk. I was getting drunk every night because there was nothing else to do. So I was literally having tea, hopping on Zoom, or I don't even know what the platform was back then. It might have been Zoom. I can't remember. Hopping on Zoom with my mates who were all doing the same thing. And then I'd like get drunk, order a second tea for a takeaway. And then, Skype work the next day pretty much and do a tiny bit. And during that time, I was like doing stuff like painting the garden fence. I remember doing that because it was if you can remember those first weeks, it was glorious. So I was painting the garden fence and I was just listening to some Daniel Priestley stuff, and I was listening to some Ryan Holiday stuff, which are two kind of very different authors or people, if you like. Ryan Holiday is all about stoicism. Daniel Priestley is obviously entrepreneurship. And I remember thinking, I'm stopping drinking now for a bit. I'm going to, and I said this to Amy, and she's got a picture from the day I shaved my head the night before because there was no barber to go to. And I didn't want Amy cutting it. Jesus. She actually did all right. But I shaved it on this particular occasion, and I got a notepad and pen out, and I'm sat on my stepson's like beanbag gaming chair going, Amy's like, who do you think you are reading these books? Like The Ego is the Enemy or The Obstacle is the Way. One of those books it was by Ryan Holiday. I was like, I'm reinventing myself right now. I've never even told this story, I don't think. So I said that to her. She laughed. And then it sort of started from there, and I kind of did. But where did it come from? I think if COVID hadn't happened, I'd probably still be at the agency. I wasn't unhappy there, but potential wasn't like I wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilled at all. And then you just like, you see a bit of success and you're like, oh shit, what if I push this a little bit further? And I know you've been on a similar journey where it's just like, I reckon we could try this or and then it was like, oh my God, people actually want to give you thousands of pounds and they've never even met you.
Yeah.
And it's like, before you know it, it's you've got a team of 6 or 7 and like 100 plus clients. I don't know where it came from, mate. It was definitely it was more of a why not than a why. And it was definitely more of a I can't let this fail because when I do something, I'm very much all in. Rather than I need to succeed. It was just like I just can't fail. So probably a lot of the opposite of what most people will say to that question.
No, thanks for sharing that. And I'm just like, I'm not going to dig too much more onto this, but I find it fascinating because a big part of like obviously what I do for a living is help people to do that, to go from, well, I'm not happy or I'm not fulfilled, and make those first few steps, get them to believe in themselves or whatever. But what I found fascinating about your story is that there's no third person in that story. There's no like, I mean, you've mentioned Amy, but it sounds like that, it's not like she was saying to you, oh, you've got to do X and Y. So it's come from within somewhere. Did you always have like a restlessness about you when you were younger?
I like to project, I think. I'll get my teeth into a project. But I'd always just start new things and, typical entrepreneur, ADHD brain, whatever it is. But just start new stuff. And I quite liked making money, not even having the money. I mean, do like that, but making the money. So I had a paper on since I was 11 until about 15. I didn't know many other people my age getting up at like 6 in the morning and doing that kind of stuff. I'd sell tapes and sweets and CDs at school, which interestingly enough, my stepson is like some proper wheeler dealer now in year 9. Like he gets shipments from TikTok shop. He's got people selling them for him in the younger years, building out his org chart. I love it. No real input from me either there, so it's funny. And then I think there still is this restlessness. I think I'm clinging onto it a bit more now, but I've got like the teenage kind of energy is still there somewhere. Like,
and the hustle as well, I guess.
No, I like I like it. I think that's it's hard to beat someone, I think. Or it's hard to quit when you enjoy the journey, not just the outcome.
Because that's so important. Yeah.
confident I could live for, do no work for, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe a bit longer, and still have a little bit of money left, maybe live quite a modest lifestyle, to be fair.
Mhm.
So, but I still get up at 5 and fucking work. Love it.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
funny.
can't answer that question. I don't know. It's weird.
But there's a theory. You've probably heard me talking about this before. About there's a Japanese concept called ikigai. Have you come across that?
I have. I've never done it, but I know what it is, I think.
The idea is just for those that are watching. The basic idea is that if you can find what you're good at, that the world needs, that you enjoy, and that you can be paid for, see that as like a Venn diagram. The middle of that is a fulfilled life. So it sounds like that's pretty much what you've got. You can be paid for it, paid well for it. You enjoy it. The world needs it, and you're good at it. So bingo, there you go. There isn't really anything else, because work is part of life. So why not put your energies into something that you absolutely love, and then you can get up at 5 and work really hard. And I've got we're going to change course a little bit here, because my journey with this kind of entrepreneurship or whatever, or working for myself, is similar, because I'm like a couple of years into it, and obviously what I do is different, and it hasn't scaled the way that yours has. But I find myself working and working and working in a way that I've never done. And I've had some pretty big jobs, and I've had times when for like a month we've gone hard on a project, and I've been all in on it. But I've never felt like I do now, where like this place where I am at the moment. My daughter goes to a workshop, an art workshop around the corner on a Saturday afternoon. So I get 90 minutes, and I drop her at the door and I run here, because I get like just under an hour and a half, and then I run back. And I think in the past I would have looked at that and said, there's something wrong with you, because you're not relaxing. You could do something else with that time. But now it just feels like it's what I want to do. I love it. And that comes through when you talk as well.
Yeah, I think, it's if you can create a hobby and, like you said, ikigai it and get paid for it,
Yeah.
then why wouldn't you fucking, like, you're having fun and making money, which then if and when you want to, allows you to have more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you fucking run there?
Yeah.
Why would you walk?
That's brilliant. I love that, because that is something that definitely is in character. We're quite different. Like I often like joke. Well, it's not really a joke. I say to people that I've got a diesel engine, in that like it takes me a while to get up to speed, but once I'm going, it's really hard to stop, and I'll go for days and just keep going. I mean, so my kind of like competitive advantage is outlasting everybody else. It's just keep going and don't give up.
Stubborn.
Yeah, hare and the tortoise kind of thing. But I know you're much more like boom, boom, boom. Let's do the next thing, which I really love. It's just different ways of doing that.
It is. It's the same sort of hunger, though. If you're doing that, you're doing the run to the office. Yeah, it doesn't surprise. I remember when we first met, and you were, I can't remember in what scenario. I definitely wasn't in your house, but you told me you've been up at like 5 a.m. doing the boring work that needed to be done to allow you to get to this stage.
Yeah.
And even in that, you had the usual smirk on your face and understood that it can be fun and gamified the boring bits.
Yeah.
Because there is some boring work to do at the start, a lot of boring work, and that's probably why you're sat in that office and I'm sat here without a job, is because there is that longevity that we can both see. And if you can gamify the experience, and just like I heard someone say recently, like, business is just some numbers, and all you've got to do is just move the numbers around, and then new numbers appear. And I was like, oh yeah, it's just inputs and out, like any kind of like equation or sum. That's all it is. It's just a little bit more, well, more numbers, I guess.
Yeah.
And if you can just obsess on the ones on the front end, obsess with the ones on the front end rather than the ones on the back end, and know that if you spend enough time on the front, the back end will come good, then may as well just get up at 5 and do it and get it done. Because then you can choose when you wake up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you love it that much, you'll still get up at 5.
Yeah, still do it because then there's just more stuff and more numbers.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about so your kind of signature program's called C2C, content to clients, isn't it? And that's how we first met. Is that I signed up for that program just over about 15 months ago, I think it was, something like that. And it's had a huge effect on my life, and like pretty quickly I sucked out like all of the system stuff that I wanted out of that, and I was like, right, I'm up at 5, I'm doing all the things or whatever, and then I got what I wanted out of it, which is great. But it gave me a chance to observe what was happening to other people in a bit more of a neutral kind of way, because I stayed in, and there's this, as you mentioned, it's like 100 people, there's this community, and you get to see person after person after person completely change how they see themselves. And I guess, how does that feel for you to be doing that for like literally hundreds of people?
I can't take credit, I don't think. Because you've got to have something in you to be able to see the success. It's not like you can just, I don't think, create someone brand new by going through a 6-month program. So every single success story, of which obviously there have been a fucking lot, and I'm really happy about that, from a selfish and hopefully a non-selfish point of view. But they've all must have some form of fire or desire or hunger or appetite or something inside them to be able to go, okay. And you know what I think it is? A lot of the time, I think it's fear of having spent the money on the program, which really lights a fire under people's arse, because that's what happened to me. I spent my first 4 or 5 grand, I can't remember, on some guy's program. It was all right. It wasn't that good. It wasn't the program that mattered. It was the fact that money had left my bank account, and I'm too stubborn to not make it back. Plus, I'd probably get bollocked. So, and I think a lot of people are the same, because if we gave that program away for free or for 100 quid, the commitment levels would be, rock bottom, I imagine. So there's that, which I can't really take. Well, I can take credit if people, I'll take more credit in terms of money if people want me to. But I can't take credit for that, because that's their money and their like own mental relationship with money. I think what we can take credit for is calling people out on the lies that they're telling themselves and giving them a structured process and support along the way to follow, which they navigate in their own way and get in contact with us when they hit one of many, many blockers that they will hit in the first 6 months of trying to seriously build or grow or scale a business.
Yeah.
So it's a mixture. I feel, in short answer to your question, I feel amazing about it. Like, it lights me up.
Good. I'm glad you said that at the end, because people that are watching that don't know about this, it is quite an experience to be part of it, because you get it sounds like I'm doing promotional work here, Chris, but it's like, it's just coming from a genuine place.
I'll go on mute. Fine.
There's the community side of it as well, and seeing all those people that have got this new tribe, and a lot of genuine friendships made there as well. And and to go to the live events as well, to walk into a room and be surrounded by that positive energy, and people, there is a lot of fear. And I remember one of the things that you said to me early on, or I think it might have been in your program, was this idea of burning the boats and going all in, don't have a plan B, just go for it. And that was a big message to me when I was starting out, because I had a salary job which I'd resigned from, and I was working my notice, and I was thinking, right, okay, if I can't prove this to myself, then I could do a bit of consulting or whatever, and I could put this dream of having my own business to one side. But going all in is a really, really big deal, and I think that had a huge effect. But I'm interested to know, like you said, something. It's a thread I want to pull on: the lies that people tell themselves. What are some of those?
Oh God. I mean, you've probably done it. I know I've done it. I probably lie to myself multiple times a day. So, like, how best to frame this? You've got, I guess, like, call it like I don't know, a diamond, and then you've got the spectrum. You've got a singular white light going into this prism. That's the word I was looking for. And then it goes out in all these different colors. Like, let's say it's the 7 colors of the rainbow, because that's what it reminds me of. I don't know if it is. But that's like objective reality going in, which is there is only one reality. It hits your brain, which is the prism, and then it's filtered through all the stuff that's happened to you in your life, like the person that told you to F off at school, the person that said you were really good looking or you were really ugly, or like me, you got a spot on your nose, whatever, all these good and bad experiences that shape your worldview. And then that worldview takes reality, which is then filtered through it, and then you bend it to what you think it is. And that's the story your brain sells you on, rather than you actually just going, hold on a sec, what's actually happening here?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, people don't remember the positive things that people have said to them. They pull on the negatives. And that therefore becomes like a self-fulfilling loop. And I spoke about this not so long ago, which is hopefully why I'll be able to deliver it well. But it's along the lines of someone tells you that, or someone told you ages ago that you're ugly, or a girl denied you, as an example, when you asked them out. Therefore, the story you sell yourself on is, I can't get girls. So when the opportunity arises to therefore go and speak to a girl, you don't do it. And therefore, your thought, which is incorrect or correct, you don't actually know, but your brain tells you that you can't get a girl. You don't speak to them. Therefore, that thought is proven right. And therefore, it's strengthened again and reinforced. And then it's this self-fulfilling loop that just keeps going round. So when people are like, and I had this for years, like, I can't post on social media because my friends will say, who the hell do you think you are? Are you trying to be the next Stephen Bartlett? Coming online with your opinions and stuff like that, like I wasn't allowed. And I genuinely believed it, and it stopped me. And I know that's why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because I know there are loads of other people who feel exactly the same, or if not very similar. We had someone in C2C, I won't name her name, but I know you'll know who I'm talking about, whose husband's friend called her a LinkedIn wanker. Because she started posting on LinkedIn, and she was like, how do I respond to that? And I said, just say, yeah, I am. Because like ultimately you posted on LinkedIn. And I think she took that the way it was intended. I hope she did. You are a wanker. No, you are a LinkedIn wanker. And she is absolutely killing it now. And I bet the guy that said that feels like a right fool. But on the flip side, if she hadn't have spoken up, or she'd internalized that too much, she may have just stopped posting on LinkedIn forever. And that's that self-fulfilling loop. But you have to be aware of reality. And I think you can only start to do this when you've been through a few social situations and stuff, and actually identify stuff for what it is, and then absorb it based on objective reality rather than subjective reality, and like molding it to your view. And that's what I think people do along in every area of life, not just business, but because I've been through the journey with enough people now, I think I can identify the patterns and the lies that people tell themselves and go. So at the minute now, anyone goes, I might be overthinking this, but I was like, I don't even need to hear the rest of the thing. I'm just like, yeah, you are. No one cares. Get it done. JFDI, as you used to say.
Show my age. I saw this thing the other day. Do you know who Alan Watts was?
Yes, I've listened to loads of his stuff.
Yeah, well, somebody posted this thing on LinkedIn, talk about LinkedIn wankers, and it sounded like Alan Watts, And bits of it actually were, I'm fairly sure, real quotes from Alan Watts. But then at some point he said, so it was something like, ask the girl out, do the thing, post that content. I was like, I don't think Alan Watts ever said, post that content. So somebody'd like AI hacked Alan Watts into this thing. But the message is still good. And I remember I had my own like struggles with the whole LinkedIn wanker thing. And I do know who you're talking about. And it's interesting that in the C2C community, that phrase has become like almost like a rallying thing. Like people say it to each other. Yeah, I'm a LinkedIn wanker. That's the way it goes. Yeah. Because the truth is, if you're gonna promote your business, you don't have a massive budget and you're starting from nothing and you're doing everything yourself, you have to get yourself out there because people are not going to just magically know that you're offering services or whatever. So you need to do something, and it's probably you on your own. So that means it is you, it's your brand, it's you personally doing stuff. So you do need to talk about it or write about it or whatever. And that is a real hurdle for a lot of us to get over. I found it a little bit difficult. But the biggest one that I had was actually prior to all of this. So I worked in the software industry, then I worked in the public sector for quite a long time, and I did quite well in the public sector. I got like national jobs and stuff, but it always felt a little bit like my talents weren't being, I couldn't really express myself properly. I couldn't really, everything moved too slow. And over time, I started to tell myself this story, and it went like this. And I told a lot of other people this. I said, I work in the public sector because it suits me. And I think that's because my dad worked for the local council. So he worked for the public sector. His dad worked for Durham City Council. So he worked for the public sector. His dad worked for the cooperative movement. His dad worked for the cooperative movement, and his dad was a tailor, right? So basically, it's in my DNA. And that was just something that I said. And then one day I was like, that's just not true, is it? That is just well, the facts of that story are true, but the conclusion, which is ... therefore, I'm not cut out to be a business person. Yeah. It was like, and when I went, hold on a minute, there's nothing actually any different about me. It isn't literally in my DNA that I have to work for the NHS for the rest of my life, So
it's so stupid on the when you actually just zoom out, isn't it? Stuff like that, and people do it all the time. I mean, we still do it now, I imagine, with loads of stuff, but it's just ridiculous when you boil it down to the first principles. Both what I've said and you've said about LinkedIn wanker, or your great grandsons have to work in the public sector now. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Never change anything. I was talking to a guy in my local coffee shop just before we came on here about this idea. I'm going to give you a little bit of Buddhism here. Okay. And it's, I believe, one of the Four Noble Truths, which is suffering is caused by craving and avoidance. And you can run just about everything through that and go, am I suffering because of the thing? Or is it because I'm avoiding doing the thing, or avoiding saying the thing, or taking the action, or posting that content, as Alan Watts said? So are you avoiding it, or are you wishing things were other than they were, or other than they are? So I don't own a Porsche, right? I would quite like to have a Porsche, but I don't actually care. So there's no suffering. But if I spent my life craving that Porsche, then I'm creating suffering by the craving, not by the not having a Porsche. You see what I mean? And I think it's part of the human condition, is what I'm saying. Going back since forever, that we have these limiting patterns in our minds.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you've covered the craving there. I think that hit me on the other side, which was the avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything I've ever been afraid of that I've actually confronted head on, which hasn't been everything, but when I have, it's literally never been a problem.
Yeah.
Tough conversations. They'll weigh on your shoulders for weeks. Decisions, unmade decisions and tough conversations. And I now make a list now. Whenever I feel something like that, I'll be like, right, why am I feeling like anxious or nervous or scared? And it's usually one of those two things. It's an unmade decision or a conversation I've got to go and have. Maybe it's an action I've got to take, like getting on a plane, because I don't like doing that. But it's the same thing. Like, I've not died in a plane crash yet.
Yeah.
But I've been on loads of planes, even though I was scared. So yeah, that's a great way to sum up the bullshit that people tell themselves.
Yeah. And it's really annoying, because just about everything that you do, you can run it through that. You know, am I craving something, or am I avoiding something? And actually, you'll find it. And actually, you've just helped me realize, for people watching, just before we came online, we were having a little bit of a chat, and you said to me, "Are you having a good day?" And I'm like, yeah, I've been in a bit of a funny mood this week, but actually today it's like unlocked, not sure why. But I do know why, because of this conversation. I was avoiding doing a small number of like just administrative things that were kind of irritating, but also the story I was telling myself that they were more significant. So one of them was, there's a client who it's turned out it's not right for, you know, I'm not going to say too much. This turned out it's not right, and so we agreed a little while ago to just let this person walk away and just rip the contract up, kind of thing. And all I needed to do was just that last little bit, just rip it up. But for some reason, I wasn't doing it, right? And I don't really know why, but it was signifying something to me, and it was nagging at me. And the more I left it undone, the more I avoided it, the more I was telling myself, "Oh, you're useless because you haven't done that thing," you know. And then, and then this morning, it took me less than a minute to do what I needed to do, and I felt so much better. It's ridiculous, but you know,
it is. And you know, coming back to the LinkedIn wanker point, I just had something jump up there. I love the fact that was a minute, but it was hard to do for some reason. But going back to that LinkedIn wanker thing, and specifically about that woman who is on LinkedIn now, is still a client and is absolutely on fire, like in every form, I imagine. That got me thinking when we mentioned that, is like, no one did anything significant without catching a bit of flack along the way. And probably some a lot of hard conversations as well. And I remember coming back to the fear of judgment for me, because I think this might be useful for the people listening. I wasn't posting my face, or I was hiding my face in my content and my name in my content because of this fear of judgment. And I thought, right, and this is, I think, how you can boil things down to, like, try and get down to real reality. I was like, who is it? Who is it that I'm actually afraid of? Because it can't be someone I don't know. So, and it can't really be someone I don't like, because I don't like them. And it turned out it was two mates. One close, one close-ish. And as soon as I wrote that down, I was like, but they're your mates. Like, what are they going to do? Like, just take the piss for 2-3 days?
Yeah.
And as soon as I did that, as soon as I went through that exercise, which had probably stopped me for like 5 years, again, it took me a minute, maybe two, to just go, if I don't know them, it can't be them. If I don't like them, it can't be them. Therefore, it's either family or friends, or like some old school associates on Facebook. But I don't post on Facebook. As soon as I'd done that, I was like, oh, fuck it, I may as well just do it then. And then that was it. So that whole like 2-minute exercise might have been the key that unlocked.
Wow.
Well,
5
maybe,
years.
I don't know.
Yeah.
5 years, maybe even longer. Yeah. I mean, I tried when I was at my corporate job to post content. It felt horrible. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be myself.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, you'll know this now. Like, when you do, I think it gives you confidence like no other. Like, it is truly liberating once you can just show up online like we are now, and just like we are being complete selves. I've got my scruffy trackies on, I'm chewing on a pen, just shooting the shit. There's nothing better. Like, that's when you are true to yourself.
Do you know what? That's so true. And I actually take it for granted now that
Yeah.
I just like invite people to do this, and then I stick it on YouTube, and I'm like, I don't even think about it anymore. But I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't started to surround myself with people. And I think that's really important, is to have a tribe or like at least a couple of people that are going to be in your corner. There's another thing that came to mind when you were talking there. There's a psychotherapist taught me this many years ago, that one of the things that keeps us in place. So I'll explain this a different way. When you change who you are, you change in the perception of other people as well. And often the people who are closest to you, they want you to change the least. And that might not be logical. And they might say the opposite. They might say, oh yeah, I really believe in you, Chris. You're fantastic. I'll support you, whatever. But you feel them dragging at you, and you can feel that like they're being touchy with you, or they're ghosting you, or whatever. And you just know it's off, right? Or maybe they'll be even more aggressive, like you say you worried about with your mates, that they'll take the mick, but maybe that wouldn't be in a nice way. But what that comes down to is that we settle into patterns. We kind of, without realizing it, negotiate patterns of behavior between people that we're familiar with. And when one person changes that pattern, the other person experiences it as discomfort, because it's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like when I say this to Chris, he joshes with me, and suddenly he's like started going, oh yeah, that's cool. Sorry, I can't come on Friday because I've got a call, right? And it's like, what? I don't like this. It makes me uncomfortable. And they won't be thinking about it consciously. They'll just be feeling it. It's off. And so this psychotherapist told me that what it often happens in that situation is the worst elements of this other person's behavior are going to be accentuated. So if they're like an angry person, they're going to get really angry with you. You know, if they are a passive person, they're going to disappear or ignore you or not return your calls for a while. And what that is trying to force you back into a comfortable position for them.
Yeah, they want you to like operate at the version of you that serves them best.
Exactly. Or just that they're familiar with. It's just
Right, yeah,
it's not even it's just that they're familiar with. But what she told me is what you have to do is you have to hold this other position really deliberately for a period of time. And then it'll actually become more comfortable for them to either walk away completely, in which case you haven't really lost anything, or join you. But most people in this position, they can't handle the discomfort of their friends and family or whoever it is being those relations being off. So they just drop their ambition, they drop their dream, and they go back to being what's comfortable, even if they don't like it. Does that make sense? I'm not sure I explained that very well.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah, because it's kind of happened to me on this journey. I've left, I don't want to say left friends behind, but I've certainly lessened the time I spend with certain people a hell of a lot. And then to bump into them again after like a couple of years, and they go, I've been watching your YouTube, it's amazing. And you're like, oh God, okay. You're killing it, yeah. 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 And that's another thing that's like, I think that's happened to me. I don't know if it happens to you. When people say something, I'll be like, I used to like a compliment of some description. I used to be like, oh, really? Do you think so? Or I'd try and like downplay it. Now I'm just like, yeah, I know. And it's not coming from a place of arrogance. It's just self-assurance.
Yeah.
Like even just down to someone say, oh, those trainers are amazing. I'll just be like, I know, they're amazing. Or best pair of trainers I've ever seen. Whereas before I'd be like, oh yeah, I like yours. Or just be like, yeah, they're all right. Or whatever. And now it's just, again, part of the liberation of becoming the real you, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's
and some
interesting.
people can't handle that.
No, because let's be honest as well. Like on this journey, so a part of the reason why I started calling, a lot of the stuff around my branding, it's related to this concept of hero. It's to do with the hero's journey. If you're familiar with that idea, anybody that's watching it isn't. It's basically the storyline of Star Wars, like Lord of the Rings, things like that. Loads of Hollywood films follow this, but it's also like loads of Greek tragedies and things. And the general idea is you meet somebody or a group of people, and they're going about their lives, then a thing happens. There's some instigating event, and that could be, a war happens, or they have a revelation, or somebody dies, or somebody's kidnapped, or whatever it is, or they find a map that's got treasure on it, and then they go off on this journey, and they go on the journey, and then there's all these like trials and tribulations and dragons or obstacles they've got to overcome. And at some point, there's a really, really dark moment, or there might be quite a few of them, when they want to give up. But on the hero's journey, they find something within themselves and they keep going. Eventually, they overcome the obstacles, they return home, and they're still them, but they're changed, and they are a new version of them. And I hear that in what you're saying. I know you're not calling yourself a hero, but it's like one of the really interesting things about that whole story arc for me, and why I chose it, is there's always another person in that story. And that person it's Yoda, or it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi as a ghost or whatever. So essentially a coach or mentor or somebody comes and helps our hero along the way, which is why it's relevant to a coaching business. But I'm intrigued, like, who's supported you? Who's your Yoda or Obi-Wan Kenobi or Gandalf?
I've got.
If you say I'm Gandalf, then we're ending this.
You're Grandalf.
I asked for that.
You did. There have been far too many to count, because I think I couldn't tie it to one person. If I had to, it would be Amy, for telling me to get the job at the agency when actually I didn't want to travel to Manchester and I could just stay comfortable 5-minute drive away. Amy telling me to quit the job and do this, or actually give that guy $5,000 where I'm a little bit worried about it or whatever. She's just like, just go for it. You'll make it work. So someone that has belief in you, that's powerful. But I can't put it down to just Amy. It's all the people that I've paid money to, even if the programs or the mentoring has been shit, that's still guiding me. Maybe it's guiding me away from that person. So I don't view it like that. I mean, it's down to my relationship with Zoe as well. Zoe Wan Kenobi, Zoe Whitman. She helped me out a lot. I don't even think she knows it, but she did. Conversations with you, the team who work alongside me in C2C, fucking hell. I don't feel like I'm doing some acceptance speech or something, but every single person I've met, especially in the last couple of years, and you probably know where I'm going, all the way back now, every single experience is shapes you. So I know the concept. I'm very familiar with it. If anyone isn't, I recommend buying a book called Story Brand by Donald Miller, which goes through this. And it says every film has a guide in it. They're not the main character, they're not the hero, but they're a big part. So I think the short answer it'd have to be Amy.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think we should wrap this up now. We said we're going to do about half an hour, but actually I've just realized that you and I could probably talk for about 3 hours, and we shouldn't. But
we could do a Rogan podcast.
I think that's a beautiful. Nice. Thanks for the message there, Rick. I'm glad you're loving the conversation. Do you want another 3 hours, Rick? I'm just I was just going to say that it's beautiful what you say about Amy, and I think what is super powerful about that is that when there's somebody who cares about you and has love and affection for you, who sees something in you that you can't yet see in yourself. And actually, I'm gonna go really, really schmaltzy here. I feel like you did that to me when we first met. And
fucking hell, here we go.
Oh dear, come on, get the tissues out.
I've not had much sleep, mate. You might catch me here.
But seriously, I knew that I had talents that were potentially useful, and I'd already proved to myself that I could be a decent coach, but I didn't know that I could run a business, and I didn't see myself as a businessman at all at that point. It was like I would have said freelancer, or I would have said coach or whatever, but these days, no, I run a business. That's what I do. And I feel like you could see that in me. And I know in some ways it's like a transaction, isn't it? I was buying a service off you, buying the training off you or whatever. But that was never how I felt about it. I felt like, oh, hold on a minute. You've said things to me that there's somewhere inside of me, I've got this inkling that I can do this, but I don't quite believe it yet. And you put that inside of me. So I'll always be extremely grateful for that. Yeah. So should we wrap it up? I didn't quite make you cry, did I?
Not quite, mate. It doesn't take much, admittedly, but yeah, I'm holding back a bit. Thank you. Now that means a lot. And likewise, mate, I've learned a lot from our exchanges. It shouldn't work on paper, but it kind of does.
Yeah, granddad,
yeah, granddad, and great grandson, Grandalf and Frodo. Yeah, but no, thank you, mate. That's warmed my little afternoon up. Feel like I've had a glass of mulled wine, even though I haven't. I don't know why I said that. We should have just stopped.
We should have done. Anyway, so I think to sum up, thanks very much, Chris. If they want to know more about you, like, where would they go?
LinkedIn, or preferably YouTube, because I'm trying to build that up. So just Chris James online on any platform. And yeah, it's been great, mate. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it. I do honestly, like, not just saying this because I know loads of people say it. I've been on podcasts when people say, "Oh, we could have gone for hours," and I'm like, "Yeah, fucking can't." And I'm ready to get off. I genuinely reckon we could easily be still sat here at 7 o'clock, just going round and round with this like modern day philosophy or whatever the hell people call this.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we're two self-help junkies, aren't we? So like, there's all kinds of aphorisms, and what have we done? We've done Buddhism, and we've done Stoicism, we've done marketing, sales. We've done a lot. A little bit of relationship stuff as well, family dynamics.
Covered it all, mate.
Yeah. But I think let's wrap it up there. Thanks very much, Chris. I just to wrap it up, want to say, if anybody's ever thought about getting any like sales marketing training, it is worth every penny. Go and talk to this guy. He's amazing, and the team's amazing as well. They're really fantastic, and the community is brilliant. I think that you don't yet realize quite the impact that you're having on those hundreds of people's lives. And I think in some ways you're utterly unhumble, but in other ways you are extremely humble, and you really do impact people. And I think you impact people even who don't work with you because of the messages that you share online and the stories that you tell. And we've not got into it today, but some things that you've shared in the past about what your family means to you, what your dad meant to you, and things like that. They really help people, and it's a real service. And having been somebody who, has managed to transform the way that he works in the last few years, I mean, it's such a gift to be giving people, even if you're just playing a small part in it. And you're right to say that it's the other people doing the work, yes, but you create something that has an energy about it that is having a huge impact in the world. So I think you should be really proud of it. And one day I'm going to convince you to feel it a little bit more.
I'm feeling it now, mate.
Good.
It started.
Right. Well, we better let you go. So I think one final note then.
Let's
remember what the great Alan Watts said. Go and post that content.
Cheers, Stephen. Really enjoyed it, mate.
See ya.